Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another episode of Iron Panther Presents. Today we shall be discussing the Hulu documentary Freaknik, The Wildest Party Never Told, which is really false advertising, to be honest. But we're gonna get into that. What we learned, what we thought we were gonna get. Was it worth watching? All this kind of stuff we will discuss after the intro. If I can play the intro. Oh, wait. I got to do it now. Wait. This is going to be funny. Wait. You ready? I got to do it.
This is awesome. This is amazing. I love it.
It was psychological. It was emotional.
Extremely entertaining.
But as always, as we try to say here, as we said, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And as we talk about this video, please like on the video and comment on the video, and we will get back to you as soon as possible.
Dave?
Did he take himself off?
All right. Hello, everyone. We shall be discussing what is Freaknik? What was supposed to be? What did it turn into? What did we learn? I actually learned some things about the thing. So we're going to get into all of that. And I got to make sure I'm actually in my own video. But whatever. Okay. Who wants to go first? What did they think? That sort of thing. Anybody? Damn it. Do not all step up at once. All right, Chris. No, Stacy, she's in Atlanta. She's in Georgia. So please. What did you think of the representation?
I did enjoy the origin story. I did enjoy kind of the throwback, flashback images, lifestyle, hairstyles. The hard hair. I do remember that hard spritz hair that we used to use, and yeah. So it was nostalgic in a way. Should I admit this? Okay, so there was this one.
Please tell.
So I heard. But no, like David.
I ain't got no tea. I got to do what I got. I got a bowl of ice.
But no, I do remember like the traffic. Like there was like so much traffic. You literally would just stop in the street and just like mingle in the street because you couldn't go anywhere. And I swear I'm really starting to hate Killer Mike the more I listen to him. So they talked about how millions of dollars were coming into the city because of Freaknik. The white man said, oh, these kids would come with $100 bills and they would buy stuff and all this influx of cash into the city. Fast forward to Killer Mike. Oh, the mayor's trying to shut down the poor, disenfranchised Black kids. And I'm like, who gets that money? Like, they were bringing millions into the city. Now, they were also bringing millions of cars of traffic, and you literally could not get anywhere. You couldn't get to work. You couldn't get to a hospital. You couldn't get anywhere. So it made sense that the city would want to shut it down. And, of course, the Olympics and everything kind of pushed that to try to get people out of the city. And the fact that you half naked in the middle of the street when you got a family of four in the next car trying to go to dinner and your labia is out on display, like we don't need to see that. Like we don't have a beach where you can go and frolic half naked. It's concrete city. You're walking up and down the street. There's no reason why I should see any personal body parts of yours hanging out the car. Now, I will say that Freaknik back then is tame compared to these young ones today, because you can go to the mall broad daylight and see chicks with just see-through shirts, no bras, no nothing, just walking around. So yeah, Atlanta is wild, which is why I stay in the suburbs. Thank you very much. But yeah, I've been driving down the street and just seen ass cheeks just hanging out the window, just because somebody felt like it. So really, Freaknik is pretty tame to some of these kids are nowadays. And if they brought it back, God help us. I swear to God.
They did bring it back. Remember the end?
Well, to the same level, to the point that even the documentary was like, it's not the same.
No,
like the Luke level of wildness. All right, Stacey. We will. Kim, what did you think of documentary? Or do you remember the time, that sort of thing? I mean,
yeah, I remember the time. I remember the hairstyles because I had most of the hairstyles. I remember the
Chris.
clothes. I had the herringbone chains and the
Daisy Dukes.
I did. I had Daisy Dukes.
Get the Daisy Dukes on, everybody.
That oh man. No, never mind. Okay, sorry.
But I never went to Freaknik. No, I didn't. Because I was literally someone's mom. So no, I was not there at Freaknik. I was in the house breastfeeding and taking care of the other one. Anywho, and married. So anywho, I don't know. The documentary was okay. I didn't think that it was like one of the best documentaries I've seen this year. Actually, it was kind of generic for me. But and it had a lot. It put a lot of stuff in there that I just didn't feel was maybe necessary to tell.
It wasn't relevant.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was like, we all, well, hopefully we know how Atlanta is. We know, Atlanta is right now like blowing up with the rappers and the singers and I mean it's a melting pot now of entertainment, right? We have a lot of entertainment coming out of Atlanta, and so and I mean we have the colleges and things like that. So it's a nice place. It's for Black people, but I felt like the documentary was just a little bit all over the place for me, pretty much. And I was glad to find out how Freaknik actually started because I had no idea how it started, and I thought that was pretty nice to see that. But other than that, it was just kind of all over the place. And I'm not a Luke fan. I don't like when he talks. I can't stand him. Actually, he's very annoying to me. So I was like, why is he?
I wonder why.
He's just annoying. I like the 2 Live Crew. Don't get me wrong. I like that. I thought.
Kim, what you like about 2 Live Crew? You are. I hate to just say it like this, but you are a female. Why do you like 2 Live Crew?
Because of the music. The music was. No. Let me tell you why I like them. Because they did something that somebody else would never even think to do, and then they fought for their rights. They went to court for freedom of speech, and there's nothing
Pretty
wrong.
Woman.
They did something that their ancestors could never do. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why I like that. I think that was a great move on, and that was all Luke. That was all Luke, right? The man is not stupid. He's very, very intelligent. He was trying to move forward, which is what you're supposed to do, and not stay within the frames that people want us to stay in, right? So but me personally don't like him. But I'm not saying I don't like what he did for Black people. I'm not saying that. Anywho, that's pretty much it.
Well, there you go, Kim. Thank you very much for that well-rounded review. I appreciate that. Chris, thoughts? I see Mr. Campbell behind you.
Yeah, no, I love Mr. Luke Campbell myself.
Of course you do.
I mean, my older cousins, like they used to always play 2 Live Crew and all that, and even like the box. If y'all remember the different music channels, you had the box we had to pay for it. They always played 2 Live Crew, and that's when I was like, at that point, girls no longer had cooties to me. At that point, they were like, they don't have cooties. Oh my god! I'm like, what? Like that's when I all of a sudden started to grow like one strand of a beard right there. I was like, I am becoming a man because of Luke Campbell. I'm becoming a man.
This is going the wrong direction, but so does this documentary.
I am hoping they actually. I can't wait till they have to have some sort of actor to play him in BMF.
Yes.
Going from Miami to Atlanta or whatnot.
Yes.
He needs to be in BMF. I'm just saying.
Yes.
But anyway,
actually,
with the gap in his teeth and everything,
Yeah.
But the documentary itself, I think the documentary had a little bit of a problem as far as going in a particular direction that it needs to be, and it's like it was very all over the place. It touched everything. The problem is there was no structure, there was no order, in my opinion. I look at other documentaries that I've seen that I've actually really liked, like the Woodstock documentary, where they were talking about stuff from Woodstock from late 60s to even when they brought Woodstock back in 2000, if y'all remember Woodstock. So, but there was a structure to that, and then like it had talked about how Woodstock was started, and then talked about the greatness of it, the musicians, and then it got into like the craziness, the drugs, and then the sex, and then the rapes and stuff like that. But it was all in one particular section, and all of this other stuff, and then it got into the recent Woodstock. You know, same thing with Fire, with the documentary Fire from the Fire Festival. You know, really great documentary. That's also on Hulu as well. All that stuff. So I thought that's what this was going to be, and it just went all over the place. It first took you to Freaknik Now, which I didn't have a problem with because I know it was kind of just rewind the tape. And I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. But then it just decided to first talk about Freaknik as far as the one that we all know, but then it decided to rewind again to the very beginning, to the DC chapter, which I thought was cool. You know what I mean? But then it decided to all of a sudden rewind again, even further, to how Atlanta was all about black people and blah, 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 in the suburbs. And when I'm like, dude, just pick a direction. I'm like, I'm all for all this information, but just like, can you go in order?
Documentary. Pick one.
Yeah, in my opinion, I thought like it should have just started with black people being in Atlanta, like and how Atlanta's structured. Like maybe show white people in Georgia, and then that's how it should have started, right? With black, and then how African Americans got into it, and then slowly got into the music. But then I felt like the filmmaker just did not know what direction to go to, so he just kind of threw a lot of stuff in there. And look, I'm all for So Def and all the music that came up with, but they spent way too much time talking about Jermaine Dupri. You know what I mean? Yep. I thought he was great and all, but I'm like, what does it got to do with Freaknik? Like, I get it. Like, some of the music was sent out. Okay, cool. Yeah, send out some tapes, and you know, some music on there. But like, bro, like y'all spending way too much time on there. Y'all don't even have Andre 3000 in this documentary. So come on, dude. Like, I felt like it just missed a direct direction that it needed to be. And I felt like at times, and I'm glad that it did touch on the sexual harassment portion of it, because that's unfortunately what it wound up turning into. You know what I mean? And because I felt like they was glorifying Freaknik way too much in the beginning. And I was like, okay, like they are going to touch on this, right? And then they did, you know what I mean? But we were focused on a lot of other stuff, you know what I mean? And you know, but overall, it said greatest story that you never heard. I'm like, what didn't we know? Like the only thing I probably did not know was essentially that the Olympic Committee, like the moment that the Olympics came to Atlanta, that was like basically the death to Freaknik. That part I didn't know. I was like, oh, okay. And I mean, it made sense. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. That's why Freaknik kind of died out, like, you know what I mean, a little bit, you know what I mean, in a sense. So, you know, but I'm sorry, you going to say something?
No, you're good. You're good. I'm looking at a comment that I'm gonna get into.
But other than that though, it was all right. I just need filmmakers to kind of pick one direction, you know what I mean, and just go with it. So that's all.
Thanks, Chris. Jamani, I know you and I have talked about this. What are your thoughts?
All right, so me and Chris are, you know, same age, but he has an earlier birthday, I believe. So I'm the youngest. So I have very like I'm so far removed from this being a part of like Jermaine Dupri.
Your childhood.
Jermaine Dupri is such a big part of this, and I've heard him doing promotion for it, and he's like, I was too young to go to the early ones. I didn't get to go until like 93 and stuff or whatever, right? And I'm like, you got to date Janet Jackson. I'm like, I remember when I was first saw is it The Pleasure Principle, the one where she's doing the whole thing with the chair, everything? Like that came out the same year I was born. Like
what?
My first initial, like the first time I ever even heard of Freaknik was Little Kim's Crush on You, where she's like, you better go down Freaknik. So I'm like, yeah, like it's
absolutely just classic.
So it was something that was just folklore or legend because it was over before I even made it out of junior high.
Yeah.
So I think they should have made it like a a double documentary, like a gift and a curse kind of Jay-Z situation, where you just give us the debauchery, the girls gone wild in one, and then you just, give us the history and the sexual assault and the stuff that you can play as a documentary at school as the other one. Like, it should have been a paired set. Like, it just, you didn't. It just ended up being like more like a book report on Freaknik. Like, I don't know how you could make something so, as it's called, the wildest story never told, like the tamest story that can be told in classrooms.
So
yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm like, well, wait, one more thing. All right, okay. So I don't know if any of you guys are Seinfeld fans, right? Seinfeld had an episode that got banned
for the
Puerto Rican Day Parade, right? And they're just in traffic the whole episode, right? That should have, I think, cancel BMF and just make a Freaknik show. It went on for like 10, 15 years or so. You can do a season for every year, and it could just be people in traffic and, people at Freaknik for that one season, and next year it's another set of people. And what that should have, I think that would be a better reflection of Atlanta than just showing that Atlanta is the drug dealing hub of America.
All right. So Jamani and I were talking about creative advertisement, and how this documentary is an example of that. Right, the advertisement did not prepare you for what you were about to watch, because the advertisement was the debauchery. The advertisement was, we're going to talk about the post Luke Freaknik, and that's not what this was. Like this was like the beginning, middle, and end of it. And I learned a lot about the fact that it started off as college black kids who could not afford to go home and could not afford to go to Florida. So they started their own thing, and they just wanted to enjoy themselves for a few days and go back to school. And I was like, oh, well, okay. I was like, I did not know that. And then 1993, Florida came to them, in the form of Luke, and he was like, titties. Like, this is what freak means to me. And then that turned into the crap that we know it to be, right? And like, what? And hey, to your point of what the fuck. I got a historical black college history that I was like, oh, that's a documentary by itself. I was like, okay. Then we got the Freaknik documentary. Then we got the Atlantic music singing documentary. Then I was like, what? That's 3 documentaries already. I'm like, which one are we watching, y'all? I was like, then we got then we got the strip club documentary. Because then it turned into, if you want your music played, you got to be in the strip club. And sometimes you got to be there on Monday or maybe Wednesday. I'm like, why the fuck are we talking about this?
David, this documentary is more of this was an Atlanta documentary. That's what this was. It wasn't Freaknik. It was Atlanta. That's what this should have been.
Yes, Chris. I was going to post that. You're absolutely correct. This should have been called Atlanta, like Chocolate City. What did it mean to us? What does it mean to the culture? And then you could have justified.
You can't call it Chocolate City. You can't call it Chocolate City.
Oh, excuse me.
Chocolate City is DC. You can't do that. Don't disrespect us. Don't disrespect us. Don't do that.
Like, I was like, but excuse me. But like, you're right. This should call it the ATL.
I was surprised that they didn't talk about the bombing at the Olympics that year. I was like, you're just going to talk about everything. Why not talk about that?
True.
Well, then, because Freaknik was not responsible for the bombing.
I know, but they were talking about everything. So I was just like, why don't you just
they should have threw that in too. But it went a lot of different, but no, truly, I was impressed with the kind of like the sunrise and sunset of Freaknik, and then them trying to bring it back. I completely agree with you, Chris. I was very concerned about how 21 Savage, who I'm sure wasn't old enough or even born to go to Freaknik originally, who was like, yeah, that's when y'all could do it. You mean you could molest women and not get caught because you don't have iPhones? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and then they're like, yeah, the good old days. And then why do old people always do this? I'm in my 40s, so we're at that point where they're like, yeah, back in our day, that's when you could really touch women and not get in trouble for it. Now you got these damn phones and stuff, and I'm like, what the hell are you? What?
Yeah,
That's
that was pretty outrageous. I was like, what the
right, Kim?
That was definitely outrageous. It's true. It is true, but it's disgusting.
It is.
It's disgusting. I'm like, why should we live in a society where women are, accessible in that way? Like you just touch whoever you want, do whatever you want, like rub your stuff on a woman, feel her body, while she's walking past. I mean, these are not good things. These are bad. You're molesting women.
Yes.
And then there was a bunch of rapes. Why is this being celebrated? I mean, in the beginning, yes, of course, celebrated, right? But when it became what it became, you're still celebrating it. I'm like,
yes,
no, this is not right.
This is not okay. This is not okay. And like, it was too many times that they were like, yeah, these kids need to get off the internet and go back in person so you can get touched in person. Like,
no,
I'm like,
I'm gonna do a slight pushback on that because as Mark Lamont Hill brought up, saying the majority of Freaknik was not that. Unfortunately, bad apples happen. Just like the stuff you hear about Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
Majority of people at Woodstock had a great time. Majority of people were not like dying of heat stroke, whatever, or like getting molested and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Majority. However, unfortunately, bad news will literally will like overshadow everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think that's what Freaknik, and that was the deal with Freaknik, unfortunately.
But
you know
also,
what I mean?
Nobody was prosecuted for any of those rapes.
Yeah.
Or assaults.
Well, yeah.
Nobody.
And part of it too is
it was way too many people.
And there was way too many people, and there was a lot of non-college kids.
Any cops again.
Videos
if the cops were trying to
there was video of it, Kim, but they were from out of state.
A bunch of videos that stupid people took.
Kim, but they weren't even there though. They weren't even from there. See, it's hard to get people who come from out of town.
Hunt these people down though.
Yeah, how you gonna hunt these people down? They're not from there.
Yeah. This is a now
but let's just say grape or essay for the video sake.
Oh yeah. So sorry. Essay. My bad. I forgot.
Back in my day, you can actually say the word.
Oh, you gotta get my video. You gotta get my video.
Back, David. Back in my day, you could actually say the word. Okay, you can actually say.
Well, so I mean, so that's to your point of I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. So we do got a person. I think they were making up some stuff in the documentary to put on in All Even. I don't
know. Like you have to be specific as far as what.
Yeah.
Like, you know. So
I think there was no accountability. My problem is that the earlier creators, like the forefathers of it, right? They were very proud and they should have been. We created something for us when we couldn't go anywhere. But and then Luke again proudly was like, I brought Freak to Freaknik. But once it turned into the assault stuff, right? No one was held accountable to be like, Luke, do you not accept that at some level you contributed to this? Like you brought the energy that created a situation that this stuff could happen. Like no one held him accountable for that. No one was like, we should have put out the bad apples. What did you do to keep the bad apples out? Because all they did,
because he wasn't an organizer of it, and it got to be to a point where there wasn't an organizer anymore. Like
what he technically didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. Luke didn't do anything. He came out with music, and he did the Freaknik one time, and then now all of a sudden he's at fault.
So when he
came out with music in Florida, it's not his fault that people in all 50 states are playing his music. Blame the people there who was organizing it. Blame the cops that was not cracking down on this other stuff. But you gotta be careful of blaming musicians like that, because if you blame that musician, then you might as well blame all rappers. Then blame all the rappers. You know what I mean? At that point.
When you get to the late 90s, you can see that the cops did do the cracking down and start blocking off traffic and everything like that. And it was a matter of, oh, well, it ain't fun no more. So people stopped coming because there was no organizers. There wasn't any organization to it at a point. It was just people descend on the city at a particular week, and it was a free-for-all. Once they said, we're going to make it so that you can't congregate, which is a First Amendment actual violation, because you do have the right to assemble. But, that's neither here nor there.
Not during COVID.
Well, that was like martial law at that point. But that's neither here nor there. anyway, but the cops were responsible for it, and you can actually see that they actually could have did what they did earlier, but they just didn't. But there wasn't any organizers at a certain point. After you get past, I'm sure the people that were there, they graduated and they were no longer there anymore.
I'm just saying. So I remember again, a lot of times people were like, it's the cops' fault. It's the cops and it's the government's fault that it turned into what it was. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. Like black folks allowed niggas to come in. And you can't let niggas get involved in your events because that's when stuff happens. Because even they said
it's not really that they allowed it. People just descended on the city.
When the 40-year-olds start coming down, trying to get some young cooch.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the problem. It was supposed to be all for college kids, and then it wasn't. And it wasn't college kids doing this stuff.
But also too, like 24, 25 going down there. But after that, no.
But also, I think that also it was no one was there to kind of keep the peace. There was like no police officers or even just regular people who were like, let's tame the crowd. Let's kind of
there was no taming, none of that.
Yeah, it was no taming of it. It was just kind of, and then I mean, if you watch the videos, you see these girls are like opening their shirts and in a car with their daggone cooch hanging out, and it's like, what do you do? I was looking at these videos to see if I knew any of these people because my cousins live in Georgia. I was like, God damn it, what are you doing? I mean, not to say that women should be touched if they got their stuff hanging out, but I mean,
wait. But you're making it seem like this was an isolated incident. When you think about, they showed this was happening in Miami. This was happening with white people.
It was in Miami, all of that.
Yeah, so it was happening with white people in other cities. This was just the only place that it was happening with black people.
Right.
Well, I'm saying, but
it's not for me. It's not a black and white thing. That's not what I'm saying.
It's not.
I mean, Woodstock happened, and Daytona happened, and what is it? Myrtle Beach. All of those places have different people. There's a bunch of different races that go there, and things happen. But in those places, they had more of a police presence than in this area. And I'm not saying that.
I don't know about that, Kim.
I've been at Panama City Beach, and
they didn't have enough people.
HF Festival barely had any cops there.
Atlanta doesn't have the infrastructure to contain all this traffic. We just don't. So, like, if you're like on the beach, people park and they walk to the beach, and it's like a bunch of people congregating. You can still drive by the beach. You can still do that. I'm telling you, Atlanta, you couldn't go anywhere. If you were in the area, you were just stuck there. And if something happened, you call for help, ain't nobody coming to save you. Unless you got to go somewhere.
They showed in the video of the cop, and they complained about it. These cops are here trying to hold us back.
Cops out there with their hands all up in people's ass cracks.
I mean, also, but I mean, they showed what the documentary characterized as over policing, that they were doing too much, and then the one story that they showed about the young lady who got pulled out of her car, right, and then like the guy, as she's telling the story, and to the comment of they're not blaming white people, in fact they are. They're blaming the cops for trying to protect the white people. And they weren't protecting us. That's what she said.
Well, one thing about it, cops in Atlanta are generally black, so it's not necessarily blaming white people. It's blaming the leadership, the mayor, the government. And in Atlanta, the government is generally black. Okay, we had black mayors, black cops, black chiefs, black DAs, all of that. So it's not necessarily blaming white people. They're blaming the system.
In her story, to the point, she was saying the system was more concerned about protecting the rich white people, is what she said, and put her in the
majority
situation.
of the tax base is going to be in the wealthier areas, and the majority of the wealthier areas are going to be white.
Yeah,
and I'm like, but then she said
of Atlanta.
And I said, but
they didn't want people going up to Marietta and Roswell and Alpharetta. They didn't want y'all up there. They wanted y'all. They tried to contain y'all in a certain space.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying y'all like I'm not.
No. It's kind of like The Wire. It's kind of like in The Wire when they did New Amsterdam.
Yeah.
the New Amsterdam where they kept all the drug dealers in one area, just to come.
Remember
like,
that was a good season. That was a good season.
Yeah, but but it was based off of real life stuff. It's like, you know, I mean, The Wire wrote that in a fictional show, but they based it off of like real life stuff where the cops was like, we got to keep them, we got to hurdle them up like pigs in the pig pen.
Well, honestly,
So, you know
if you're
what I mean?
at home with your wife and kids, you don't want like all this outside of your house. And
Yeah.
it makes sense. And if I pay taxes and I'm telling the cops I don't want these people outside my house,
Yeah.
should they not protect my interests?
Yeah.
My property taxes,
Yeah.
are paying their salaries. Why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah. But in the end, she was like, these cops weren't there. I'm like, they arrested like 481 people. Like, they actually showed the number, like they were actually working. But I'm saying, but she don't acknowledge that like it was the black population that was near her or the one that attacked her. Because then she's like, I'm scared of black people. Like, I'm scared of a crowd of black people because they attacked me. And I'm like,
I understand
I'm
why
like,
she's upset at everyone. I think I get it. I get because she's upset with everyone. She's upset with those young men that did what they did. But she's also upset with the cops. Now, to your point, yes, the cops did a lot of arresting and whatnot, but you got to see it from her point of view. Her point of view, she don't see no cops, right? So in her purview, there is no cops to be seen. You know what I mean? Yes, there's probably a lot of cops out there, but not to where she could see.
There.
You know what I mean? And you got to see like she dealt with such a traumatic event, and like where you say help or you say help, like, you know what I mean? Like any other place that's rather crowded, there would be police that will come through, or there will be a gas, what do you call it, smoke grenade or something, or whatever, you know, just to kind of break up the crowd or whatnot. But there was none of that. You know what I mean? So I understand from her point of view, everybody's at fault. You know what I mean? These guys, these young guys or whatever, who did what they did, but damn, the cops weren't even here to protect me either. So I get it. I get it.
Except for the guy who yelled police or cops.
Yeah, and then like, and then she
but
said,
that happened like what, several minutes after the homegirl got her girlfriend's purse stolen, and then someone went into the car. That it took a while before that part of police, like you said, like for that guy to yell police. That happened though. It happened a long time.
That can't happen.
Yeah.
But it was, I mean, I just said it was like at one part of the documentary, it was blaming law enforcement and the authorities for Freaknik going bad, and then another part of the documentary is like, well, there wasn't enough cops there, so that is why Freaknik went bad. And I was like, y'all need to be consistent, because I'm like, this don't. And it just kept on going back and forth, and it's like
you can't be consistent on that because it's different points of views. Just like you might have girls' point of views of like why they are disgusted with Freaknik, but then you might have other people's point of view of why they thought Freaknik was awesome. You know what I mean? We don't, for a documentary like this, you kind of want it to be different sides of the aisle, unless you're talking about like a serial killer or something like that. That, you know, but you're talking about an event. You know what I mean? Just like you watch anything from like Woodstock or a Fire Festival or not, you have all these different points of view. You even hear from the cops' point of view. The cops is like, yo, this whole thing was just no good from the beginning. You know what I mean? All that stuff. So I'm all right with that the different take.
I get you.
You know what I mean?
No, and true, because and then gender perspective, right? Because closer to the end, it was a black man who said, you know, I'm not doing Freaknik anymore because the law enforcement and everything is too much. My friends are going down to Daytona. And then they showed a black woman who was like, I'm not doing Freaknik anymore because it's dangerous and I don't feel safe, right? Like it is like, that's not because of the cops, but everybody had, again, like I said, had their own perspective. Because that one black woman was like, this is great. But after they showed these it was that black dude who was like, you know, for some reason in America, they keep on having this stereotype that black men are sexual predators and they're out here hurting people. And I don't know why they keep on. I'm like, did you not see the footage? Like, that was like 2 minutes ago. Like, I'm not saying, obviously, we're not all that. That's not what I'm saying. But what the fuck are you just come out your mouth? Like, if it happened, acknowledge that it happened. Like, it's not racist to say in this situation, the men who attacked these poor women happen to look like these women. And that's a fact. And don't be like, I don't know why you want to talk about that. Like, that shit happened. Like, acknowledge it and be like, what can we do to fix it? And then again, same dude was like, this empowered women to show their asses. And then we took Daisy Dukes and gave it to the black women. Then we made coochie cutters. And I'm like, are we bragging about this?
Well, some of the girls are bragging too, though. You got to.
No, they were.
Well, from the early 90s, I think from the early 90s, Freaknik, especially when they did the Daisy Dukes, they weren't having all those same issues. So yeah, so some of those women were able to like do whatever, and then like get on top of cars and like shaking their asses without any guys just grabbing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
for those guys, it was great. You know, they probably went 3 years in a row and it was great. And then probably didn't go back in 93 or 94. But then maybe people went to 95 was like, oh, what the fuck is this?
What is happening now?
You know what I mean? So, you know, it's like so I give them grace in the sense of like them bragging about it. It's from wherever they were at. Because you remember, it's not like in one central, like particular like neighborhood necessarily in Atlanta. Like maybe a different fraction of it. Like maybe there was a step team doing a little power walk or something like that. You know what I mean? They were probably doing something like that. You know?
It was just funny. It was just funny to me because I remember the Daisy Duke song because my brother came home blasting that song. Like he just joined Alpha Phi Alpha. Like he was all like I'm 21. I'm feeling strong by myself. And I was like, it was like Daisy Duke song. I was singing. I was like, I remember that song. I was like, he was all about that shit. So I was like, this is took me back to my childhood, I guess. But anyway, again, it's funny to hear people in their 50s to be like, back in my day, we didn't call it twerking, we called it ass shaking. I was like, again, what are we doing right now? What? Like these young kids don't know what it's like. Back in our day, we had real asses back then. We didn't have all that BBL stuff. What the fuck are we doing?
What you had an issue with them saying that, David?
Like this is not what we need to be doing. Like this is not what we need to be like. Back in my day, we had real asses.
This is a Freaknik documentary. I'm like, what other platform are people supposed to get nostalgic about certain things? Like
are you kidding me, David? Are you telling me you never been to an event?
Because again, hold up. In the same documentary, we're like, we have historically black college, and we had to do this to take care of ourselves as centers of excellence, and somehow, and then at the end of it. Freaknik is needed because of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like,
that was Mark Lamont Hill. That was one person that said that part. That was different. Yeah, Mark Lamont Hill.
I was like
I said, these are different people. But what I'm saying is like, I even think about my college days, and I kind of think of like there are certain things that happened like even at Frostburg. I'm like, it's like, oh man, nostalgia. And then and one of my neighbors' kids goes to Frostburg now. And then he just says how boring it was. And I be saying the same thing like, yo, back in my day at Frostburg, they would have like Jello wrestling or whatnot, lingerie Wednesdays or whatever, all this other stuff. And I'm sorry, I'll admit it. For that time, that was the good times. That was the good times or whatnot and all that other stuff. You know what I mean? Nobody was touching the girls or whatever. The girls, was like, woohoo, having fun or whatever. That was seen as the good times. And that's how all they were doing. I think we're freaking for Freaknik. To them, that was going on. They weren't saying, "Oh yeah, I was grabbing titties and just molesting them." No one was saying that. That's not what they were trying to say. They were saying like, "Yo, back in our day, this is how it went down." Now, the people who went to the mid '90s, it was something different. You know what I mean? So I didn't. I think your beef is more with the filmmaker interviewing all these different.
Okay, all right. Like I said, different messages for different documentaries, right? Let's not put all this in the same documentary because it's confusing the message. Like I'm like, but again, we all do it. Like the older generation, you always look at the younger and like we did it better, like we were stronger and we did. But I did love the whole different world thing. So I remember different world, and it was cool to be like Freaknik impacted like culture, and then culture impacted Freaknik. Like it was all connected. And like school days, like I remember school days, and I was like, that was cool to be like that. Kind of inspired us to do this and that. But again, that's a whole different documentary about black filmmaking in the early '90s and what that meant to the people and that sort of thing. Yeah. And I was like, different documentary. And I was like, well, let's get back to Freaknik, please.
That's what I was saying. Like the moment they kept talking about So Def and stuff with Chris Cross. I'm like, look, I love Chris Cross as well. Like I remember growing up, there was another kid in my class and also named Chris as well. We came to school like one day and wore all our clothes backwards or whatever. Love Chris Cross. So watching that part in the documentary, I did get distracted. And then I was like, wake up. This is Freaknik. So why are they talking about Chris Cross and the brat?
Unless Chris Cross at 12 years old was performing at Freaknik, we don't need to be talking about this. Like, what are we doing?
Well, I'll put it in context. Well, it was basically to say this is what gave Jermaine Dupri his start, and Jermaine Dupri came out with So Def, and So Def ended up being more or less the soundtrack of
later
Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the 2 minute. That's all the 2 minute segment. That's all they needed.
And that's an Atlanta documentary.
But when Jermaine Dupri is the executive producer of it. That's why we get him in an armchair.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was executive producer.
And Luke. It was
so they went 50 Cent on this shit.
That's why you see this in a studio. Like, I've never been to your studio before. I'm like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, that's
I was confused by that. Now it all makes sense.
Why do we care? This is a Freaknik documentary. You two meeting up has nothing to do with anything.
Jomani, the whole time I was wondering why they keep showing him in his own studio, but I had no idea he was executive producer. Now it all makes sense. Okay.
It's like when we watched the Supreme Team documentary, and we're like, why is Nas doing all this bullshit? And I was like, because he was the executive, and I'm like, this is not the direction. Like in defense, it actually stayed more focused though. It was far more focused than this. But like Killer Mike, I was like, please shut up. Like I don't like you. Like he says silly shit. And I'm like, he just irritates the fuck out of me. Though.
I'm gonna say on record, anyway. I love Killer Mike, but yeah, I did not want to see him in this documentary, but Killer Mike is still my boy. If you're watching this, all right.
He probably would have ended up on the cutting room floor, but they just gave him 3 Grammys this year, so his name is.
Did he get arrested? Did he get arrested after that?
Yeah. Because it's a crime it's a crime for Killer Mike to be getting 3 Grammys. Whereas
it's a crime.
Artists don't have none.
Now you need to call your breast.
Didn't slap anybody. Showing your breast before it was like caught on the phone. Now we need to call your breast. Someone can tape it and be on the back, and then you couldn't. Like, so technology. I think we're going for technology. Like back in the day, it was harder to embarrass yourself. Like, because you had to get it on VHS and you had to share the VHSs around. And I'm like, that's why Girls Gone Wild was like a thing, because it took a while for those VHSs to get out. And then those college girls were like, oh shit, I should have did that and signed that non-disclosure agreement. But now
that's not a non-disclosure agreement.
What's that called? Release?
Yeah.
Release.
So it's like now you can just pull out your phone and embarrass yourself. Like, it's much faster. So like it's a different perspective. You know what I'm saying?
Forever.
And that's
it's wear out over time. But internet is forever.
And now this stuff is digital. So they're like, so that's why people are like, oh my God, mama, is that you? Yes, baby. That was a long time ago. And I didn't think I was gonna have, kids.
But wait a minute, but mama, I was born in 1993. Is that why I don't know who my daddy is? Like,
damn it.
It's like, that's why I don't know who your daddy is.
Wait.
Your dad could have been that guy in that gray car that was just hollering at me or whatever.
The one in the Winnebago.
Yeah.
I was like, five.
Back in my day, we didn't have phones. We had to write down the numbers on a paper. And it's like, girl with a gray car. Whatever. I'm like, that part I was like, okay, nigga. I'm like, yeah.
I was like, I don't even know. I've only heard of Freaknik through songs and the animated. I didn't know there was an animated movie that aired on BET. We need to.
With T-Pain.
That was
a TV show, wasn't it? That was on Adult Swim. That was on Adult Swim.
There was a show called Freaknik. What was it about?
Yeah, T-Pain they showed that at the end. T-Pain had a show called Freaknik on Adult Swim.
It was actually really funny. I liked it. Yeah.
I mean,
but it was like Boondocks level as far as for adults. It was for adults. It was like
it was a Boondocks type show though. It was a Boondocks.
Yeah.
Okay. I was very confused. Anyway, I did again. I appreciate somewhat of the overall arching of the story, at least for the Freaknik piece, how it started, what it turned into. Again, them trying to bring it back. I thought it was a good story. Like, if Freaknik still continues in a different way. They did show you, to me, I thought the bad side of it, the good side of it, like Outkast. The fact that Outkast became something because they used Freaknik to get their songs out. Like, we had all our customers in one. I thought that was cool. Like, for a music standpoint, I like that.
Think that was right. I don't even think that was all true. I mean.
Well, so that could be what person said about making stuff up, but at least it showed that Freaknik was relevant. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Outkast was popular or whatever. Outkast didn't become popular because of Freaknik. Like, what I mean? It's just like it was just their style, and people in New York love that different style that they've never heard before. That Southern playalistic, like just that whole style is just so different. That's why they blew up. That was the problem I had with JD with this thing. That made it seem like if it wasn't Freaknik, Goody Mob wouldn't be here. And I'm like, it's just I don't know. It's just like I think they embellish too much. I feel, you know what I mean? They're like, oh, there's a big old billboard sign that says so deaf. So therefore, people are, oh, so deaf. Let me write this down. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like everyone. If you know about Freaknik, I'm sorry, you already freaking know who Outkast is. Like, what the hell? Like, come on, man. I don't know. That's.
I understand for all the music stuff that they discussed, like I thought that again they made it relevant to the event as opposed to again going to the studio, going to the rim shop that was the go-to, and I was like, what the fuck? This have to do anything? So at least
I've heard about the rim shop, so I can't necessarily just rule that out. But Eric Sermon's rim shop, Eric Sermon was like the first New Yorker to move to Atlanta, so he was recruiting other people to want to move to Atlanta.
Oh, so it's his fault. Oh,
so when people talk about the rim shop, that was like him. Like he would take people from other states and introduce them to Atlanta, and that's how Atlanta started to get popping. But that's just outside of Freaknik. That's just him moving there and introducing other people to it. So, but yeah, I'm sure that it became a home base once people were there for Freaknik weeks or whatever.
It was so to the Olympics thing. I know we've seen that in other documentaries to be like the Olympics impact of like, hey, we can't, like I said, we can't have the world seeing us like this. Like we gotta clean this shit up before international visitors come. And we so like that makes sense. But also the thing.
Wait. Outside of Freaknik documentary, I'm like, I cannot wait for this to happen where I am right now, because the World Cup is coming to New York and New Jersey. Was it next year or the year after?
Where are y'all gonna put it?
Yeah,
at the football stadium.
What? It better be MetLife because like
that's why they say New York, New Jersey because all the New York teams play.
I'm about to say it's going to have to be MetLife in Jersey, right? Yeah, North Jersey or something maybe.
Yeah. So and then you have like there's some stadiums in Long Island too. They have
speed your money. I would not want to be you and Kim.
Queens, so they can split it up. So I'm just waiting for the tri-state area to get.
I do not want to be you and Kim during the moments when they bring that to New York because
Kim doesn't live there
crazy as traffic is right now.
I live in Oklahoma, sir.
Huh?
I live in
She lives in Oklahoma now.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you moved. Well, don't visit your family around that time.
He's trying to save it. It's like but no, it was interesting again, like you said, the Atlanta. This would have been better as an Atlanta documentary because there was so many things about the city that kind of how they all culminated together. And then people have been prepared. Like Jamani and I were talking about again how the advertisement was not appropriate for what was shown. And if you give people, but that's how they got people to watch though. That's how they got people to watch. They'd be like, you're gonna see ass shaking and hip hop songs, and that was like 5, 10, maybe 20 minutes of this thing. And I was like,
I think that's not how they got people to watch. That's how they got it made because they were talking about this documentary last year this time, right? And it was like, yeah, we're gonna get people up in arms and everything and a hoopla, so we get funding to make it.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because I'm like, the official trailer just came out like a few weeks ago. Like it was just conjecture last year when they started talking about it.
Yeah, so social media went crazy. Social media was like, "Oh, your mom was probably on there," or blah blah blah. People started freaking out. That was great marketing. That was great marketing because people started to be like, "Oh shit!" People create memes like saying like showing like women becoming like nuns like after realizing the Freaknik documentary is about to come out. Like what I mean? Like people freaking out. People freaking out.
The group of like a group of professional black women who tried to sue for this thing not to come out. I was like,
and it was like they're suing. They ain't even make it yet.
I'm like, I know it's like you don't know what's in it.
See that they've made this since they made the announcement. They were just thinking about doing it. They made it based on the publicity that they got to get investors to put money into it.
And it worked. I mean, they got enough money to put it together.
And I'm like, they aimed it down to put it on Hulu because that's associated with Disney. You're not gonna have all of the debauchery that we thought we were gonna see on a Hulu/Disney
platform. Well, Disney also owns Tubi through Fox, and there's some wild shit. But I'm
about to say they have FX too. I mean,
there's some wild shit on there.
FX is not HBO Real Sex or like Showtime or something like that.
Have you seen FX lately?
I mean, it's not. To Johnny's point, they get a little bit more. We're getting off track. Okay. The point is, it was good. It was good documentary. It properly advertised. Is it that? And this shit is still going on, y'all. Like as much as they talked about Florida is the paradise for white people and crazy shit. Florida's going through it. Like right now, like Miami and all of them are going through the same bullshit that happened in the 90s. Curfews, fucking police presence, trying to stop like spring breakers from destroying these cities. Like it's still happening, and cops are still trying to deal with assaults and all kinds of stuff. So it hasn't changed, and maybe just changed location. But like Florida is still going through it. So they can do another documentary.
I will say though, just even though like all the craziness is going on with this, with Freaknik and whatnot, that's not a reflection on a lot of black events. Because I was going to say, like for myself, there's a thing in Virginia Beach called Something in the Water that's Pharrell's festival, Pharrell Williams, and that's 3 days long. That's 3 days long over in Virginia Beach. Awesome event, really hot because that happens around springtime as well. That's springtime right on the water, right on the beach, literally on the beach, and but so that's I'm just hoping that people who are not familiar with black events at all, like I guess I'm more concerned about just your general white person seeing Freaknik, just watching the documentary and just thinking, oh, anytime like a bunch of black people have a big celebration or event, it just goes into chaos.
Well, that is not the case. Pharrell, that's an organized situation. It's not like a free for all.
No, I'm just, but Jamani, people aren't watching the documentary like that though. You're right. It is organized. Technically speaking, if you want to be technical about it, even Woodstock technically was more organized. If you want to be technical, you know what I mean. But
you're going to a concert. There was no concert involved with Freaknik. It's just descend on a city during this spring break week.
Right. But what I'm saying is, if you remember when Something in the Water was just advertised, was it 3 years ago for the first time? It was right before COVID, so that had to be 2019. People started trying to relate this to Freaknik, even though it was nothing like Freaknik, because literally, like you said, it was just like people outside was like concert, like one musician comes on stage, boom, that's it. Another person comes on stage, but they always wanted to call it Freaknik because, let's be real, because it's black people in an organized event in front of like during spring break. So therefore, everything is now going to be related to Freaknik for some weird ass reason, and that's what they just did. Look, you're right, Damani. It's not Freaknik, but that doesn't help that these higher ups and some black people too, but a lot of white people just keep associating with. That's the issue. That's another issue I had with the fact that it made them doing this documentary. I always cringe anytime they do something on our culture that can be seen in a bad light of stuff we even do today. Because sometimes if it's not very well known, a lot of times people are outsider, and a lot of white people can just look at anything that we do as something that's just seen as like a bunch of hooligans doing crazy shit. You see what I'm saying? And that's not the case. And
that's not all of us. That's not all of us. There are black hooligans doing crazy shit, but that's not all of us.
Yeah,
that's the part of us.
It is. But the problem is, Freaknik is probably the only black event thing I've ever seen on TV, apparently. So unfortunately, that's all.
Black Biker Weekend.
You have what?
Black Biker Weekend
in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, you have black. Yeah, but like for example, just the same reason. I think we talked about this, but we even talk about like black shows of the early of the 90s, I'm sorry, black movies. Black movies. A lot of it was either we're not slaves, then we're in a gang and we're doing something crazy, like we're doing stuff like that. The outsiders, that's all we see.
All that stuff out there.
That's one of the things I want.
That's the problem. Yes, we are the problem too. As far as filmmakers, we don't. I love John Singleton. The problem is all he kept doing was hood movies.
Okay, but wait. Let me get in here. I watched this, and when they kept talking about we all would get in trucks and like a rider or a U-Haul, and we'd sleep. All I thought about was poetic justice, and I was like, why couldn't they have put the location as Atlanta instead of California? And that could have been during Freaknik with the that would have.
That would have been good. Look at you, Giovanni. And then somehow that would end up in BMF somehow.
I'm like, it was during the same time period. That was 93.
I want to see a fake Janet Jackson in BMF season 4 and be like, somehow they're filming
with the braids and everything.
I was like, that's what we need to get. Anyway, come on, Giovanni. We gotta wrap this shit up. We gotta get the Ruthless. Come on.
Whenever they get to the final season of BMF, I'm sure Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson will be dating around that time, and we'll see them then. Yeah, but as far as this goes, yeah, I know that you guys are probably going to disagree, but this shouldn't have just been like a movie. This should have probably been like a series and spread it out over different episodes and had a theme for those episodes. So you could have had an SA episode, or you could have had the Girls Gone Wild episode, and then you could have had like the origin story of it just started out as a picnic, and we want to disassociate ourselves from picnic because now we know what an actual picnic was.
Oh Lord.
For people who actually don't know, that's when white people come out and have sandwiches and whatnot and watch people get lynched. But
now we just have fun. Okay, Devon. So
that's the real meaning of it.
That's the real meaning of the word picnic.
Yeah.
I agree with you if it was a series about Atlanta. I think for the content covered in this one documentary, I think it would have been, if it was called Atlanta, then that would have covered the range of things that they covered. It would have tied it together better, I would say.
Oh, yeah,
because it covered far more in Freaknik. I mean, in this thing.
Yeah, I'm like, and I really could have cared. Like the people that they had talking, who are these people? I don't like. Some of these people, like, we came down from this, and I got this car in a dice game and all this. Who are you? I don't care.
Niggas.
Exactly. Should just be called niggas of Atlanta. No kidding. I mean, but
it's from other places coming down here.
Also true.
Some of them stayed.
It was just wild.
Be a nice little southern city.
The dice game was quite black. I was like, this is hilarious. Like I need 50 Cent to turn that into a TV show. It needs to do. Anyway, anything else, Jamon?
Like, subscribe, share it, put in your group chat, all that good stuff.
Thanks, man. See you next week. All right, Chris. Apparently, what you got?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jamani. I would prefer this being like an episodic thing. No, to what I was saying initially with the whole Atlanta thing, I feel like they should have rewrote this in the sense of like we said, got rid of the whole TV aspect of it and the music aspect, and do like kind of similar to what Jamani said, and just have like the origin episode with the black chapters, or actually, I'm sorry, even have the first episode just be like just the black chapter over in Morehouse and Spelman. Do it something like that. That could be the first episode. Second episode can just be essentially just how in the late 80s how it evolved, and then maybe the third episode could be like 92, where like how it really popped off with 2 Live Crew, and then maybe the final episode could be like Freaknik today, and does it still work? You know what I mean? I feel like that's what I was expecting with this, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And I felt like it didn't really cover a whole lot other than, yeah, buddy, yeah, I came from Ohio down here, and I'm like, nigga, okay, all these people talking about they traveling, okay, we get it, y'all traveling long miles to get here. It just got annoying. So I wanted more substance. I wanted more of those black frats and the black students that came back. You know what I mean? The reunion they had. Yeah. I wanted more of them, and it was just like more like they met for like 5 minutes, and then they moved on to other people again. I was like, shit, really? You know what I mean? But anyway, I don't think it wasn't a bad documentary. I'm gonna do this. I hope, because this is not the first time that Hulu and Netflix have gone against each other with certain documentaries. Netflix, ball is in your court. Do y'all Freaknik documentary, please. Do a Freaknik, but do it right, okay? Do an actual Freaknik documentary, legit Netflix, okay?
All right.
So yeah, but until then, guys, I'll see y'all next week, and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and see y'all on Juneteenth when we got 2,000 y'all. Deuces.
Thank y'all. Yes, and the Obamas can produce the documentary. I love it. All right. Woo. All right. Let's go to Kim. Please, anything else, our friend?
No, not really. I agree with Chris. I wanted to see more of the creators of Freaknik, the ones, the 5 of them that got together. I wanted to hear more about what their views were and what happened and stuff like that. But anyway, I mean, it's a watch, right? So I mean, it's history. You might as well watch it if you like history. So anyway, thank you, chat. We love you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share the video. We're trying to get to 2,000 likes by my birthday, June 19th. All right, so I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
You're so sweet. Thank with us. I know you're feeling bad, but we appreciate you.
Yeah, headache is killing me.
Oh, later. Bye. All right, Stacey, come on. Let's do this so we can get to Tyler Perry, who's also in Atlanta.
Yes, Atlanta is full. Do not come here. You will be sent back on a boat, on a plane, on a U-Haul.
Hey, no boats. We got history with that.
Listen, I don't care. Exit only. Do not come here. We tired of y'all. Traffic is horrible. New Yorkers, y'all too loud. Like, this used to be a nice little southern city. It's too much. Stay away, please. Thank you. And do not bring back Freaknik. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
Thank you, Stacey. We will see you for Mr. Perry. Boop. Thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. 2,000 by Juneteenth. I know we can do it. We can do it together. So let's get to Tyler Perry, who's also in Atlanta, and talk about that foolishness. We will see you in 2 and 2. I will say thank you guys very much for hanging out with us. I see people watching us in the chat.
I enjoy the view very much. I don't know what the fuck I was watching.
Rewatch this. Rewatch this when we're done. Rewatch this. You'll see what we're talking about. You'll be like, oh shit.
Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious.
Go ahead.
Oh, shit.
Stacey, do your thing.
Fuck that shit.
Anyway, please like and share and comment on the video and all that kinds of stuff. As they say, we're just going to end this broadcast and say bye.